Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blazing bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the Forgotten Realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icelandair, head out to Chull or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the Forgotten Realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions.
Oh, is that me? Am I on? Is it my turn to do stuff? Hi, everyone. Welcome to Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show that we do every week. Well, most weeks on Saturday, right here on the C&E Games channel. There's a rumor going around. I just want to address it. Just straight on. There's a rumor going around that I'm Gaarawarr. I'm here to tell you I am. Yes. I am. Today, I have Martin and Mars. We got the M&M crew. Coming up in chat, pulling questions and moderating. So give them a shout out. Give them a shout out. Today we are doing Gaarawarr's Guide to Highharvestide Year 5. 5 of them, folks. This is the 5th. That doesn't mean Idle Champs has been around for 5 years. We had the 4-year anniversary last week. But this is event Year 5. So, like, when it first came out, there was Year 1 events, because this was the first year they existed, right? So, events are always one ahead. It's a thing. So, welcome. Welcome to Year 5 of events, folks. Highharvestide was the very first event this game ever had. So it is neat to kind of bring things around. Return to the beginnings. It's like a brand new year. And we look ahead at, well, 17 new champions. We're going to talk about one of them today, right? So there's 17 events in an event year. And we get to start that calendar all over again. The cycle begins again. Yes. Yes. So, we're going to talk not about the characters that are on the screen right now. No, in fact, let's get all of these fine folks out of here. And we will talk about, we're going to talk about the event. We're going to talk about the event champions. And we'll answer any other questions you might have. So the first hour of this show is going to be, if you haven't been here before for this, the first hour is me talking at you. And it's the second hour of the show. where I address questions. No, we're not doing Stokey. I want to go talk about Stokey, but no. Okay. Here's how we're gonna do this. Let's do it like maybe like that. Yeah. Maybe a little there. Oh, poor Stokey. All right. Habam, let's go out to the main map and let's talk events. You can ask questions during the first hour. That doesn't mean you can't post your questions in chat. That's what Mars and Martin are here for. They'll pull your questions. I'll put them in a little document I have on my screen. I just won't see them really until the second half of the show. When I will answer them then. Okay. So, as with all events, you access them from the campaign map. You'll see when one lights up, it should on all platforms now show up at the top of the event of the banner, the campaign banner over here. Should always be at the top. So Highharvestide, it's got the nice leaves, etc., etc. So regardless of where you are, it's always going to show up here. There's always one adventure node and 3 potential champions to pick up. That's the most you can have in an event. Is 3 currently. Technically, because this is year 5, there are 5 champions associated with Highharvestide. But because we only do 3 champions in an event, that means you will see the most recent 3 offered to you. And the prior 2 are only now available through a time gate. That doesn't mean that you have to go time gate them during the event. You can pick them up whenever you'd like. You don't have to do them right now. But you definitely want to do these 3 right now. Tahani, Torgar, and Puent. Tahani is the newest champion. The newest champion always has what are actually the real costs for things associated with the adventures and the variants, and then the others are discounted because they're prior years. Discount champions. No. Whew, that's going to coin a new phrase in the community. When you first click, you're going to see these 3 things, except they're not going to say free play. They'll have an adventure, and the reward here will be the champion themselves. That's how you earn champions in the game. So they're fairly low cost when you start off to run the adventure. Every adventure in an event, up here you'll see there are these harvest baskets that you earn while playing. These are your event tokens. So every event has a different kind of token. These drop while you're killing things, but only 1 every 25 seconds in real world time. Running speed potions doesn't increase the rate at which you earn event tokens. Favor doesn't change how fast you earn event tokens. Running multiple parties doesn't get you multiple event tokens. Your account gets 1 every 25 seconds. So keep that in mind. The only other way you can get more event tokens, there's 2 ways. There's a blessing that lets you, but if you buy it before an event starts, you'll start with 2,500. But then during an event, you can open bounty contracts. These are consumables that come out of chests. The chests you buy with gems and the chests you get for free. They'll get you bounty contracts sometimes. Bounty contracts will drop event tokens during an event. So those are good to hoard for events and then use up in events to get you access to things. Because every adventure and variant you do and free play you do in an event costs tokens. There's a cost to access that is these in-game earnable things. Now you don't have to worry about, you don't have to burn event tokens. You can just play the event, and over the 12 days of the event, you will earn enough tokens to do everything as long as you go in with a plan and don't waste your tokens. So we're going to talk about that today. So the very first thing you want to do is go into do each mission in order, just the ones that have the names here. The Bandits Harvest Puent, the Bandits Harvest Torgar, the Bandits Harvest Tahani. You can do them in any order you'd like, but they're fairly straightforward. That first unlock mission, you just have to get to 50. You want to push further though. because favor is a thing in events. Favor is going to make everything you do in an event easier, specifically the variants that you need to do to get gear. So you want to hop into, let's say you hop into Tahani's first. You want to do Tahani's mission. You want to push as far as you can, get as much favor as you can, you know, within reason, right? You never want to farm at your wall more than 30 minutes to an hour. Then you bounce out and you go run another one. You do the same thing. So by the time you're done, hopefully you've got a good chunk of favor. And these variants will pop up and show up. And hopefully some of them show as easy by the time you're done. If they're not, like they should be green like this. If not, you might want to hop. You might want to pick a free play that looks good for you, that has a good formation. Hop in and do some favor grinding, because really your goal is to make these show as easy. Now, if you're a brand new player, that might be a challenge. You may not finish a complete, you know, not everybody finishes a complete event as a brand new player. You can, but you need help from, you know, the community, like to help you, you know when to do things. So let's talk about this. So we're going to go through each of these variants, and we're going to talk about it. What you don't want to do, I will say right now, you don't want to try to grind favor in a variant. You want to do that in a free play. Why is that? Because variants in this game are restrictive. Like you'll notice the free play here down here says no restrictions. That means it is going to be the easiest version of this you can do, and that's where you want to get your favor. Once you get under here, you see there's like a paragraph of restrictions for each of these, right? These make things harder. Don't do that. It can be a no good, very bad time trying to push and get favor in one of these. So you want to make sure they show as easy first, so you at least have some favor backing you up when you go in. But you still want to read the restrictions. So first variants are always complete area 75. The second one 125. The third one 75. So each one makes you push a little further, and the variants can be restrictive. We'll see. So for Underdark Reinforcements for Puent, extra strong drow cultists spawn in each area. The additional drow cannot be damaged until they have been bled by Puent. We'll talk about that when we get to Puent. Puent has an ability that bleeds enemies, causes them to start bleeding. So that means Puent has to have hit these enemies for them to actually die. Puent starts in the formation, but can be moved or swapped out normally if you wish. Well, I don't know why they let you... I mean, the drow cultists aren't necessarily part of your requirements, so you could ignore them. You could pull Puent out and ignore them and still finish each level, but your tank is going to be beat on by these extra strong drow cultists. So it's probably better just to do this with Puent. So yeah, this is more just a, hey, use the new champion type of variant. Overall, not too difficult. Again, as long as it's showing as easy, this one shouldn't be a problem. The Plague Cometh. This one, predictive. Cursed cows spawn in each area. If they hit a champion, the champion contracts a curse. Cursed champions deal no damage and have their max health reduced by 50%. Every 5 seconds, the curse spreads to adjacent champions. It's only removed by changing areas. This is a DPS race. Because basically you need to kill everything. You need to meet that usually 25 kill requirement before this curse spreads to your DPS. Because if it gets to your DPS, well, they're not doing damage anymore, right? And that's a problem as a new player, because you just want to make sure you're killing them before anything gets here and gets to there. So because if you're trying to push to 125 and things are hitting your tank, and you're having to wait for that to hit your tank before you're killing them, your DPS is going to be done real quickly. Because when you're new, you have Ellie as a tank. Like that's usually your first tank, right? Well, Ellie buffs the column right behind her, which means your DPS is right behind your tank. That's a problem. If you could move your DPS back, but then you lose the buff from Nayeli, and now you're down power. Right? If you're leaving gaps in your formation, you're down power. And if you're down power, that means you need much more favor to make up for it. So, don't try to get gimmicky. Just make it show as easy first so that you have favor. Go in with that favor, and then just wreck their face before they get to your formation. Somebody poisoned the well! I feel like I just hopped into an old Western TV show. Point starts out in the formation and cannot be moved, removed, or swapped out. So this is the you have to use point variant. Champions take damage equal to 20% of their maximum health every time they attack due to the poison. Pwent is immune to this poison. Yeah, because Pwent's immune to just about everything. in lore. In lore, Pwent's just like, whatever. Bring it at me. This one's a little rough. In my experience, the best way to do this is to use Calliope and put her in her lore spec. So her College of Lore basically refreshes her shields faster. So normally her temp HP shields that pop out come out once every 15 seconds. So 4 shield refreshes a minute. If you take her lore spec, it's every 10 seconds. So you get 6 a minute. So you're refreshing them much, much faster. It's not going to fully help you out, but it's going to help. You're still going to need a healer potentially to top things up, but honestly, it refreshes every zone, so you just need to live through killing to the next zone. Oh no, Calliope is in Pwent's slot. Oh. I forget sometimes. So, you're screwed. I mean, honestly. So, yeah, this is rough. If you're a new player, this is going to be real rough. Because the only healer you have as a brand new player is Celeste. And Celeste only heals either the column or 2 columns in front of her, except for her ultimate, which, if you're new, is going to be on a very long timer. This one's going to be rough for you, folks, if you're brand new. So here's what I'm going to recommend, because this is a 20% of maximum health. It's a rough cut. You want to only level up your tank or tanks, since there's potentially 2 in the front line. I would only use 1 tank here. I would use 1 tank and single tank this and leave an empty slot potentially. Because your tanks will share their health with everyone, and that makes it harder for a healer to top them off, right? So you can move, you can have Celeste, use her, put her in her life domain, so she's healing 2 columns in front of her. And then, if you end up running into trouble, you may not. You may just be able to kill them off, like to wipe out a whole screen. At once. And you may need to, swap DPS, but, it might happen. You can pull your DPS manually out. Everybody else is going to attack and lose damage, though, or lose some health. But, like, early on in the early levels, you'll kill things with your group and you'll move forward. And then towards the later levels, if you don't have a lot of favor, you're only killing things with your primary DPS, and your party's slowly dying, and you may have to manually drag Celeste around until Celeste dies. If you have someone like Dinar, Dinar's going to help out a lot. If you got Dinar, Dinar is a go-to here, because Dinar can heal everywhere in the formation. Every second he tosses a heal out to people. Or Kira could be helpful, but you have to move her around. So there's things you're going to have to do, right? But if you can only use 1 tank, and you only level that tank up as you need to, so if enemies are hitting them, and they're starting to die, and then you level up so that they live a little bit longer. That can help keep the total health pool of your champions lower, which means when you're moving your healers around or using your heals, they're going to be much more effective because they're not trying to heal an outrageous amount. So keep that in mind. Only level up your tank as you need to. Level up everyone else. This is probably a good time to let you know that every time you level someone up one level, so if you put yourself on X1 on the upgrade list, every time you level up a champion one level, they get 10% of their health back, roughly 10 to 20%. So you can use levels and gold and leveling to heal your champions in this as well. There's a little gimmick for you. Yeah. This one's going to be rough. I recommend, waiting until, not just till it shows as easy, but probably if you can get to E12 to E14 favor and just have so much gold that you're click killing through most of this, and then everyone's still killing later on because they're still doing tons of damage. That could help. Yeah. So healers are going to be a big deal here. Man, the fact that Puent is in the slot with the person that makes this a cruise. I'm gonna have to check my guide. I bet in my guide I probably said use Calliope because I just wasn't thinking about it. All right. Yeah. I see chat. Yeah. Tyrol counts as in Moonbeam form as a healer. That's potential. Yeah. So any healers you might have. Hold on. Yeah, that one's going to be rough. That's an example of a rough level 175 variant. So for Torgar, we've got an Abyssal Mess. 2 Abyssal Chickens start in slots in the formation in every 25 areas. Another one takes up an additional slot. Yeah. So if you've never done one of these, you slowly lose your formation variants. Welcome to Idle Champions. You really just want to get to 75 and bail. I mean, in general, with the variants, you just want to get to their completion zone and bail, but you don't want to push this any further. You're gonna end up losing what? You start out with 2, you lose it at 25 and at 50, so you'll end up with only 6 champions to get you through 75. So this is a scenario where you want to wait maybe until these higher ones show as green as well before doing this one, because you're down 4 champions ultimately. The more champions you're down, the harder it's going to be to push. So keep that in mind. Confirmed sightings. Only champions with a con score of 14 or higher can be used. The Resurrected Hero of the Veil appears in Area 25 as an additional boss. So you get the big boss every 25 areas. So keep that in mind. The con restriction here is the one you're going to build around. So that may adjust your formation. I've got a list for that in my guide on the subreddit. So go ahead and check out that list out if you're worried about what you're going to have available. One way to tell if you... ADHD brain this morning. One way to tell if you're going to be able to complete a variant or not is to just go to the free play for that champion and place the champions in based off the restrictions. So only put in champions that have a con score of 14 and see if you can get to the goal. Here, this is only 125. So try it out. Try it out there. Because in a free play, if it turns out you can't, if you can only get to like level 100 and then you're overwhelmed, well, it means you need more favor. Well, guess what? You're in a free play. So swap in, at that point, just swap in a regular formation because there are no restrictions in a free play. And push real deep and grab more favor. And then try it again. You know, you don't lose out doing a free play to test because you can then just change it over to a full formation and get more favor. More favors, always good. The Dark Order arrives as the final one for Torrigar. Now this one does require Torrigar and Archon, but Archon is a core champion, so that's fine. Torrigar and Archon start in the formation and cannot be moved or swapped out. So this is basically building, trying to teach you to build a Dark Order formation. Only members of the Dark Order, Torrigar, Archon, and Krull can deal damage. If you don't have Krull, that's fine. All other champions have their DPS disabled, but can still contribute formation abilities. So what you're trying to do is build a formation around, technically here, Archon. Because Archon's not really... He's got a minor buff for Torrigar, but you're probably just trying to build an Archon formation. Archon formations are tricky. They like positional formation abilities that go to somebody not Archon. So keep that in mind. I have a video guide for that called, in the tutorial guides, that's Advanced Formation Strategy, that talks about building around Archon. I also, my written guide for Archon has a table of which abilities on which champions work with Archon, like which can he usurp. That's his big thing. So you can check that out for more information. Otherwise, if you just can't figure out Archon, then just try to build and focus on Torrigar. And that'll probably help Archon, and you'll do it by accident. But this one's going to be rough. It's going to be slow, because only those two champions are going to be killing things. So, I mean, you can click kill. That always works, despite this saying it's just other champions won't be able to kill anything. So just know that one's going to be a little slower, so you definitely want it to show as green. And we're on to Tahani, the newest champion. Her first variant is scary to a lot of new players, but don't let it scare you. Champion damage in Goldfind is reduced by 99%. If we were dealing with small numbers, this would be problematic, right? Like if your champion only did 100 damage and now they're only doing 1, that's a problem, right? We deal with large numbers in this game. We deal with orders of magnitude, and when you're dropping 99%, you're basically dropping 2 orders of magnitude. So if you had a gold find of 7 EO8, well, now you're down to set like in the EO6 range, just a little more than EO6, probably just barely EO7, right? So you basically you remove 2 orders of magnitude when they do this, which means you just have to have decent gold and decent damage, and you're fine. It's not. I mean, I know that seems obvious, but it's really, don't be scared by 99% reductions and things. Enemies who have not been painted by Tahani's attacks move 100% faster. So that's 100% faster isn't a problem, in my opinion. You can use Tahani here if you want, but you don't have to. But they're kind of telling you, hey, use Tahani as a DPS, but it's not necessary. You can get through this without it. Just make sure you have the gold find. Make sure it shows as green, and you should be fine. Bullywug Brawl. Bullywugs appear in each formation. They do not... Each formation? That's a typo, folks. They meant to say in each area. So understand that they mean in each area bullywugs are appearing. They do not drop gold, nor do they count towards quest progress. So this is just the swarm variant, where they're just trying to swarm you with lots of enemies and slow down your progress, making you kill more things to move on. Only champions with dex of 14 or higher can be used. That one is rough. For a brand new player, if you don't have any other event champions, dex 14 or higher is going to potentially severely limit your formation. So I would leave the Bullywug Brawl as a new player to last. Make sure everything here shows as easy. Have like E10 to E12 favor, because you're going to have to make up for the lack of champions in your formation with lots and lots of power. You can do it. It takes a lot of favor. So again, try it out in a free play first. Do Dex 14 only in a free play and see if you can do it. Because the extra people in the formation isn't as big of a restriction as the Dex 14 or higher. Right? Doubling down. The effects of Tahani's specializations are doubled. This is just the specializations. Just the specializations, not the rest of her abilities. So if it affects an ability, then great. But it's you just remember, this is focusing on the specialization. This is nice because one of her specializations, and we'll talk about this momentarily, makes her attack an AoE, but at half damage. Well, if it doubles that, guess what? Wave clear for days. So quest requirements are also doubled. So they're just basically slowing you down. You've got to kill twice as many things. But guess what? That means you're going to have a lot more gold per area than you normally would. In each boss area, a second boss spawns. Wonderful. Both bosses must be defeated in order to progress. So yeah, it's just, they're going to slow you down, but they give you a lot of power to do that. And again, that AoE on her specialization is probably where you're going to want to go there. I didn't talk about the layouts. This is the bacon strip formation. You may recognize this from such variant hits as Split the Party 1 and 2. If you've done those, you're familiar with this layout. It's interesting. Lots of adjacencies, and you get a double tank front line, but, you know, it's definitely stretching things out, so just, you know, pay attention. I would say this is one of the more favorable variants for pushing, or, you know, the formation layouts for pushing, not variants. If you're trying to get favor. Toragars is a single tank front line without tons of adjacencies, and that can be a little rougher. But if you only have one really good tank, then, you know, maybe that's where you need to go. Tahani's is not new player friendly. New players, do not try to super push in Tahani's formation. Do not. It is rough. Vets totally can. We can fill these single lines with things that don't need adjacencies and a solid tank that doesn't need anybody near them, and then get our adjacencies back here. We're fine. But new players, little rough. Little rough. So yeah. All right. So let's hop back in, and we were looking at that, right? We were kind of looking at that. Let's talk Puent first. Puent, you know, the one that's in Calliope's slot. Jeez. The one that's in Calliope's slot. Let me just get everybody up to their specialization choices. Here's Puent. Thibbledorf Puent is a companion of the Companions of the Hall. That means he's not a companion of the Hall. Note, folks. None. No affiliation. He's a friend. An acquaintance. No, he's actually one of the Royal Guard for Brunor Battlehammer. He's a dwarf barbarian. Technically he's a battle rager. Battle ragers, as you can see, if you look at him, they wear this armor that fully covers their bodies, but it has sharp ridges, like they file the ridges sharp that are pointing out, and points all over. They've gone full in on this idea that it's got points and things everywhere. They've given him a horn. The point of a battle rager is to run up to something and just jump on and grab on for dear life and just hold and then shake. Like they just shake. And basically, they're like a living Cuisinart. They just slice their enemies up. The more their enemy struggles, the faster they die. That's what a battle rager does. They're not really afraid of anything. They just charge right in. And that's Puent. So his base attack is Spiked Hug. That's on brand. Headbutts a random enemy using his spiked armor to inflict a bleed effect. I mean, that's not a hug then. Okay. Abilities. Count them off. Whenever an enemy is damaged by Puent is killed, the damage of all champions is increased by 20%. So every 20 seconds, the attack total is reduced by 25%. So basically, you need Puent to damage lots of things, and then have your DPS kill them, and then they get more damage on top of that. This is I think what Puent's in a weird place, because this literally means, well, for you to get a damage buff, you have to kill something first. Huh? Little odd. So yeah. Keep in mind, that one only works if you can kill something in the first place, and then you get more of a boost. So it's nice against, like, on a boss level, if you can kill the regular adds, you have a boost against the boss. Battle Rager, after attacking an enemy that has already been affected by his bleed, Point has a 33% chance to immediately attack again. So, basically, again, he attacks something, it causes them to bleed, and then we have actions, abilities that affect that. So, basically, he has a really slow, he's got a 5-second cooldown on his attacks, but if he attacks someone that he already made bleed, then he can immediately attack again and maybe hit somebody else. And so this is just a way to spread bleeds around faster. Can you smell that? Point has an odor to him. Increases the base attack cooldown of champions adjacent to Point by 8 seconds. And this guy, well, by a number of seconds. This will adjust. Spread evenly between all champions affected. Capped at 20 seconds in the case where another ability buffs the increase. Right now, this seems like, because we don't know why he has this, getting to 225 and leveling up this ability feels bad. Because all that happened is your DPS champion, because you would kind of want, or anybody adjacent to Point, is now suddenly slowed down by a whole lot. Right? It doesn't get its payoff until you get up here to Gutbusters Recruits. So you got to be able to level up from 225 to 290 before this actually makes sense. Gutbuster Recruits increases the damage of champions adjacent to Point by 75% for each second their attack cooldown is increased by Can You Smell That? It's multiplicative, and it counts partial seconds. It's also doubled on dwarves. So, ultimately, the point of Can You Smell That is to reduce the attack speed and thus buff the attack damage of your adjacent DPS. This does mean you are slowing down your wave clear. So, if you're not using an AoE champion, this can be somewhat problematic if you don't have beefy tanks. It's, again, another reason Point isn't necessarily in the meta currently, but he is usable. If you can raise that ability up, there are people like Archon and Artemis who observe these cooldowns, reductions, and bonuses, and end up at 20 plus seconds as their attack increase, and do maximum damage because of it. It can get a little wild, but it's not like overpowered. So placing Point in your formation is important because you really only want him slowing down just the primary DPS, if you can make that happen. Otherwise, only a couple others. You don't necessarily want to put him somewhere that he is fully surrounded by people. Because he splits that. Because remember, he splits the reduction by everyone that's affected by it. And you want to focus that cooldown, or that attack speed reduction, or increase is what it is, on just the primary DPS if you can. This can get you, very high single attack damage. Because of the way Bud works, may or may not increase your Bud. Because remember, your Bud is your highest hit divided by your attack speed. That can be problematic sometimes. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So his specialties, specializations. He can increase the effect of Count 'em Off. So that's if you can kill things. He gives you a bigger bonus. I think I already talked about how that's requiring a kill to get stuff is a little painful as a support, but that's the way it is. Bloodstained Armor. This increases the effect of Battle Rager by 50%. So remember, Battle Rager is he goes out and attacks again, right? So he had a 33% chance to attack again. This makes it a 66% chance to attack again. Oh, wait, 50%. It's like a 40 48%. Basically, it takes him to effectively half the time he's going to attack again, is what it gets it close to. So this is just spreading the bleed faster, right? Dwarven Hair Grease is the one you use if you want to actually buff as much as possible. So this is increases the total cooldown of Can You Smell That by 5 seconds. So it's basically it's increasing how long you're slowing down those attacks. Slowing down the attacks. There are some interesting interactions with Pwent. There are champions who deal with attack speed in certain ways. It makes Pwent more useful with them. So one of those is Benuin over here. Boom. Benuin has an ability that gives him extra damage or extra attacks. I think it's called extra attacks. That's based off, he gains extra attacks when champions adjacent to him do a certain number of attacks before his next attack. And each extra attack does 25% more damage multiplicatively. So the more attacks you can get him, the higher up he ramps his damage. So the last one is really hard. So slowing his attack speed down without affecting the people around him or that queue into his extra attacks means he can actually then ramp up to do lots of damage and get multi-attacks. So that works pretty well with Benuin, especially if you throw Benuin in. Benuin does stuff based off, gives hammers and bonuses based off how often Benuin attacks compared to the person they're buffing. So slowing down your primary DPS and then buffing them with Benuin can pay off. Again, these require multiple champions to even start to pull off, but if you're in that situation, know that these are interactions. Ishi has an interesting interaction. Ishi is in slot 4. She's a DPS Goldfind champion. Ishi has an ability where she always attacks faster than anyone else in the formation. So even though Pwent is slowing her attack speed down, and then buffing her because of it, she just goes, "Oh, I'm still going to attack fast though, man. It's cool." And does. So, it's a nice way to get the bonus without actually losing the attack speed. That's our friend Pwent. His ultimate is called Round 'Em Up, and it is a key to getting his achievement. Pwent dashes quickly. Let me look it down here because it's always different. Pwent dashes quickly around the area, rounding up all available enemies. So that's everyone on the screen that can move. And he pulls them in and stuns them, damages them, and causes them all to bleed. This is a big deal. This is a very big deal here. Let's take all of these off. I don't think we're going to build up a lot of enemies. But let's show you. Let's see if we can get... You know what? Let me take... Those out for the moment. Come on. Give me a wave that has more than one, please. Please. Oh, game. Really? Really? There we go. Okay. See, he moves them all together. And they would have stunned and take damage, but they're to the point where they're gonna fall over with any damage. But that's how it works. He runs around the screen, pulls them all together, and he gets them. So with his achievement, let's just address this as we go along here. With his achievement, he wants to max out his Count 'Em Off ability for 6 consecutive seconds. Now remember, Count 'Em Off is about the bleed, making sure that enemies have a bleed on them, and then killing them. Right? To max it out, to get credit for Count 'Em Off, you have to actually kill something that he's bled. Well, pulling a large group of enemies up with his ultimate puts that bleed on all of them. Then you just need your DPS to have the damage to then kill them all off instantly. So the way I like to do this is I push really far to the point where I can kill a whole wave with my DPS, like an AoE DPS. I can kill a wave instantly. But no one else can kill anything. I pull the DPS out. I let enemies build up until there's over 20 on the screen. So try to aim for like 25. Hit Pwent's ult, immediately drop the DPS in, and kill it all. Now, and you should get maximum credit there. Now, there is one thing to keep in mind. There is a timer here on Count 'Em Off. Remember, Every 12 seconds, the stack total is reduced by 25. So what you want to do is do that ultimate destruction combo right after he resets, so that you've got more than 6 seconds to actually sit there at that maximum. Because if you do it when there's 6 seconds left, well, it's probably not going to count. So there's some things you've got to do here to trigger Points Achievement, but you can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. All right, up next, Torgar. Oh, well, feats, gear. Whew, Gaarawarr. We gotta speed up. Damage all champions gear. He gets a count 'em off buff, a Gutbuster recruits buff, and then it's ultimate stuff. Ultimate stuff. Feat wise, not the greatest set of feats. He's got his all champs damage. He buffs count 'em off. Again, count 'em off is kind of one of those. Well, if you can kill something, we'll give you more damage. Well, it's almost a manual thing where you've got to back up to a level you can kill things, ramp up his damage, then move forward again, but then you only get 12 seconds of it. It's awkward. And then Gutbuster recruits. So usually you want sweaty armor, and then you could try count 'em off, or if you're point where you're not killing anything, then you switch over to damage all champions, because at least 25% is a bonus, whereas the other probably isn't getting you anything at all. Torgar Steel Fist is a member of the Dark Order. He is a awesome, cool Minotaur Barbarian. He's part of the Dark Order with Archon and Torgar. He has a DPS support, so he can do both. Highest strength in the game, as far as I know, 23. It's just a fun fact. His base attack is fiery longswords. He inflames his... I don't think that's spelled right. His golden blade, or it just looks odd. His golden blades, and then attacks the nearest enemy. So he hits one thing. He's a single target attacker. His ultimate is Bull Rush. He lowers his head and rushes a random distant enemy, leaving a trail of fire in his wake. The fire deals damage over time to enemies who stand in it. Boom. Just like that. Just like that. Pretty neat. It has some extra effects with his abilities, which we'll get to here in a moment. Markings of a Zealot. Torgar is a permanent stacking champion, like Tahani. Tahani has some permanent stacks. We'll talk about that. Like Black Viper and Krull. Also more game, but she functions in a completely different way. So usually don't compare them. Whenever Torgar an adjacent champion kills an enemy, so this is even when he's supporting, he can get his marks. Torgar gains a Zealot stack. Torgar's damage is increased by 1%. For each Zealot stack he has collected additively, and stacks persist through resets. So the more stacks he gets, the more damage he does. Preach increases damage of all other evil champions. This is evil buff for each Zealot stack Torgar has. So now the more he or somebody else kills, the more he buffs. There you go. But he doesn't buff himself because it says all other evil champions. So he doesn't get to double dip in the kind of the way that Zorbu does. So he ends up being a solid champion, but not overpowered currently. Blood Rage. Whenever Torgar Zealot stacks reach a multiple of 50, which is an interesting random interaction, Torgar enters a Blood Rage for 30 seconds. While active, if Torgar fails to kill an enemy, he adds a mark of Tiamat to them, increasing damage they take from all champions by 300%. At several Zealot stack levels, Blood Rage adds additional benefits. Yeah, this gets kind of neat. But effectively, this debuffs a champion while he's in this Blood Rage. And I believe, well, let's scroll down and see what the other upgrades are. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay, here we go. Specializations. Tiamat's Word. He now gains a Zealot stack when any evil champion kills an enemy, so not just adjacent to him. Max 1 stack per kill. This is the specialization for farming. Usually you build out like a full evil formation, or at least evil non-adjacent to him, and then you farm, go somewhere, and everybody that gets a kill gives him credit, right? So this is a way to farm him out, like people run background parties and slowly farm up. That's how they do it, right? Tiamat's Rage, this affects the Blood Rage. Increases the duration of Blood Rage by 15 seconds, so it now goes to 45 seconds. But now it's almost on demand. It now triggers when Torgar's ultimate is used. So now not only do you get it naturally when he gets to a multiple of 50 stacks, but you're just triggering it when you fire off his ultimate. So when we do this, boom, bam, now he's in a blood rage for 45 seconds if I had chosen that, right? So this is the one you want to use when you're actively playing and not just farming up Torgar's stacks. That's going to give you the best benefits. Yep. Okay, there we go. Dark Order Synergy. So he does have a group affiliation thing. It increases the effect of Preach by 100% for each Dark Order member adjacent to him. There's only 2 other Dark Order members, so it's not a huge deal. Unfortunately, their whole synergy as a group is not fantastic. But, you know, evil champions, apparently, they don't even like each other. He has an increase damage all champs item, and one for himself, because he is that mix. He gets a markings of his zealot ability, that's the big one. And then preach, so this is his self DPS, or this is just the markings one, and this is for his self DPS, and this is for his support buff. And then he gets a Dark Order Synergy one, which contributes him to not being overly amazing, and then he can reduce his cooldown. Now his feat wise, he gets self damage, he gets damage all champions, and then he gets Dark Order Synergy feats. If we had more Dark Order people in the game, maybe, and if their interaction worked together better, maybe, but that's all he gets. So you really, you know, if you're going to build around either him being a support or a DPS with these feats, yeah. But he's really cool looking, folks. He's even got another skin over here where he's a gladiator. Look at that. Look at that. Does Point have a skin? No. That's sad. Look at that gladiator big boy. All right. Tahani. Our newest addition to Idle Champions. Oh, wait. Torgar's. Hold on. Torgar's achievement. Pretty straightforward. Reach 25,000 zealot stacks with Torgar. Where's that tracked? Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Right over here. Markings of a zealot. So right now I have 1.659073. Yeah, 1,659,074 now. All right. Hey, awesome. Now here's the Blood Rage thing. So they didn't put this in the upgrades. They only put it in outgoing effects. I don't know why. So here's the levels where he gains additional benefits, and here are the additional benefits. 250 stacks. Mark of Tiamat stuns enemies for 2 seconds. Awesome. So now he's got crowd control whenever he's in that rage. 2,500 stacks. He adds a small AoE to his base attack at half damage. Awesome. Now he becomes an AoE DPS. 25,000 stacks. Enemies with Mark of Tiamat have their attack cooldown increased by 1 second. That's a survivability feature. That helps your tanks out. Helps keep your tanks alive. 250,000 stacks. Torgar reduces his base attack cooldown by 1 second. Well, we all know attacking faster is fantastic, right? That's not only are you killing things faster, but if you're using fire breath potions, your bud is going to go up because you're now doing the same damage, but the divider is lower, so the bud is higher. 2.5 million stacks. I don't have this one yet. Damage bonus from Mark of Tiamat. Mark of Tiamat. Increased 200% multiplicative. So he does have some nice bonuses there. Unfortunately, he doesn't have what Tahani has with her thing, which is a persistent over time buff. We'll get her permanent additive stuff like Zorbu. We'll talk about Tahani. Tahani is our newest Aarakocra Kensai monk from Rivals of Waterdeep. She's a DPS Goldfind champion. Don't get too excited about the Goldfind, folks. She's a DPS champion. Okay, this is very, very minor. And not always there. Fist of Fury. Tahani attacks a random painted enemy. If known enemies are painted, Tahani just attacks the nearest enemy. There you go. Keeping it straightforward. Tahani uses paints in combat. Paint them red. When she attacks, she paints the enemy red. An enemy can be painted up to 3 times. Tahani's damage is increased by 1% for each stroke of paint on screen, stacking additively. So the more paint there is splashed around, the more damage she does. So again, remember when I said that she has an AoE feature? Built into Paint Them Red. Friendly rivalry. Tahani's damage is increased by 100% for each rival of Waterdeep in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. I always love to see stacking multiplicatively. In this case, though, we currently only have 3 rivals of Waterdeep. When we get all of them, this could be a significant buff. Right now, it's just, if you happen to have them in the group, great. But it's not necessarily a build around them feature. Way of the Brush. This is the permanent stuff. Tahani's damage is increased by 100%. Tahani keeps track of the total number of enemies that she has painted across all time. At certain thresholds of painted enemies, Tahani increases her layer of Way of the Brush. Each layer increases this effect by an additional 100%, stacking multiplicatively. Once Tahani reaches layer 10, each additional enemy painted increases the buff by a percent additively. So that is the permanent stack feature of Tahani after you get her to layer 10. So she builds up like Torragar. How Torragar built all of these, reached these thresholds. Torragar and Black Viper reach thresholds. But then she turns into, gets that Zorbu style bonus where she gets to continue forever and ever and ever with the bonuses. Unlike Zorbu, Zorbu is a DPS support, and he ends up buffing himself with his buff, and that lets him effectively double dip on his stacks. Tahani doesn't get a double dip. So she's not overpowered, but she may be, okay. Splash of Yellow is a specialization. This is her gold find. This is her only gold find. So if you choose this specialization, you woke up and chose gold find that morning. That's it. It's 200%. That's it. It is dropped when they are killed, so you can. This does work with Azaka. You can paint that enemy, and Azaka's tigers bullying that enemy for their lunch money will cause them to drop more gold. However, it is not a sticky debuff, which means once you pull, if you put Tahani in and attack the enemy and then pull Tahani out, the gold buff goes with it. Stroke of Green, this is the one that I prefer currently. Enemies Tahani paints also gain a Stroke of Green. Enemies painted in this way cause Tahani's attacks against them to damage nearby enemies as well at 50% damage. So she does have to apply it first and then hit them again. But remember, she likes to attack things she's already painted, so there's a very good chance of that. This effect doesn't chain, but it does apply paint to the enemies it damages. So basically she AoE splatters paint everywhere once she attacks something that's been hit with a Stroke of Green. Blotch of Blue. This is kind of the boss killer. So enemies painted with the blue are stunned for 2 seconds when Tahani attacks them, and boss enemies painted in this way take 400% more damage from all attacks. Technically, this is almost, the way it reads, it could be seen as a support debuff. But really, you'd probably be wanting to DPS with Tahani. If you're using Tahani, she does have some all-champ damage upgrades, which is really nice. That's really nice to see on a DPS gold champion, because it means when you get into a restrictive variant where you only have Tahani, but you already have a stronger DPS out, putting Tahani in isn't wasted. She's going to give you that all-champs damage, right? So keep that in mind, and that might be really great then to choose the blue spec so that when you get to that boss, your other DPS is doing things. All right. Flurry of Brushes is the ultimate attack. Right down here. Tahani pulls a quiver of sharpened paintbrushes from her robes and flings them out at 5 random enemies. They deal damage and apply Tahani's paint to all enemies they hit. So that's a way to spread paint and do more damage. Item-wise, she gets double self-damage. She gets Paint Them Red and Friendly Rivalry. So again, it's something that's going to buff that affiliation once we actually see more members show up. And then some ultimate features. Feat-wise, self-damage, Paint Them Red, Friendly Rivalry. Again, they're going all in on this Friendly Rivalry thing, so hopefully we see the rest of the rivals in the future. She does get one single gold find feat. So if you are trying to use her for gold find, make sure you've got the feat as well. But otherwise, you would probably want to just go like Paint Them Red 40% and self-damage Tahani 60% if you could get those. That's kind of your best options. Tahani's achievement. Right down here, reach layer 2 in Tahani's Way of the Brush. So that basically just means use Tahani. That's it. As long as you're using Tahani and applying those paints, you're going to get there. You're going to get there. For the rest of the achievements, remember, Stokey is not available in this event. Womp womp. She was a year 1 champion. Farida is not available in this event. She's over here. No, here. Right here. She is not available either. I'm going to throw them out just because I want all of our Highharvestide champs out. There we go. Here, we'll move these up. These are the ones that are currently exist, and these are the ones in the back. Yeah, the only way to get these 2 champions now is a time gate. And that's usually where you do their achievements. However, during this event, you can get this technically endless harvest. It was Stokey's area goal achievement. And Abyssal Harvest. Cursed Harvest was Farida's. The others are for the newer champions. So these are the things that you want to get during the event. You want to try to get to 275 if you can, because you can't get these numbered achievements anywhere except during an event. You can get them in any free play in the event, but the event is the only place you can get them. All the rest of these achievements for these older champions, you can get in there anywhere or in their time gates. So don't worry about that. You want to just focus on the current event stuff and grab their things if you can, and then just do that zone push. Do that zone push. Ask Gar about Tahani. Yeah. All right. We're going to take a short break so I can rest my voice, and I'm going to review the over 30 questions that are now in the document. When I get back, we will talk about the stuff that's on topic first, and then I'll go into just general Q&A. For the break today, we have the throwback, Savage Fire. So on these streams, I like to play the original versions of these Bardic Inspiration songs that were created on the show. This one was one of the first, this one is a way, way back, so the audio isn't super great quality. This was back when they were still trying to get everything figured out, but it's kind of a throwback. Enjoy to our Gar's Savage Fire.
I serve this master on my own. I cling to no one, I just roam. Dark order calls and I do right. Cut across the ground like a devil's night. Legions rise up in my command, slaying our foes across the land. And for my master I will die, but not before I take your life. Upon my fiery place will be your life bloodstains. The pounding drums of war will be this song's refrain. I am pure savagery, the primal rage untamed. I am a conqueror in her unholy name. Reckless anger, solo. Dark tower reaches to the sky. Ancient dragons circling high, standing below we wage our war for the queen of dragonkind forevermore. We are unstoppable, we are righteous land. We will set up free, I can let time is bound. We are pure savagery and primal rage untamed. We are the conquerors in her unholy name. Rise,
It me. I have returned. Welcome back, everyone. I'm going to dive into these questions right away. Once again, I'm going to hit up the ones that are on topic. So Highharvestide Year 5. And then I'll go back and do all the others as time permitting. Why? Oh, there it is. You might address this, but a Toragor variant forces him and Archon in the formation. Is this how he's ideally played with Archon? I think, hey, Super Steve, I think that was what they were hoping. I think they were really hoping to build out an evil Dark Order setup. Didn't work. It didn't work. And the reason it didn't work is Archon. Archon, his whole kit is built around usurping things. When they built Krull and Toragor, they made these cool champions in and of themselves, but they didn't build champions that actually work with Archon, because Archon wants positional formation abilities, and the other members of the Dark Order don't really have any. Not really. Like, they want to be adjacent to other Dark Order members, but that's... They kind of function in a way of being targets for other positional formation abilities, but they themselves don't really do anything. So it ended up just kind of falling flat. I don't know. So no. Yeah, not really. Arvadus... I'm going to read this question. I'm going to preface it, though. This is rude. This is a very rude champion, or question. There's a lot of hyperbole in this that makes it kind of insulting. And I'm only reading it to point out to the rest of the chat that this is not how we ask questions here. Do you think C&E will ever make a champion worse than Pwent, or is he the theoretical bottom of the barrel? Really? You can do better than that in a Q&A. Because it's not even accurate. It's not even accurate. I can name multiple champions off the top of my head that are far less useful than Pwent in this game. So yeah. So yeah, don't do that. That's not for here. Take that somewhere else. Andrea Raven, what's the best way to get gold chests in events? Running free plays or buying from the store? Run free plays. Run free plays. Yeah. For every free play you run, and you get to 50, and then reset, you get you get one random chest, either a silver or gold, for the champion whose free play you just ran. Now, free plays do have an escalating cost. They start off at 500 tokens, but they cap at 2,500. So the most you're ever going to pay for free play is 2,500. That means you can do 4 free plays and get 4 chests for the 10,000 you might buy from the store. But those 4 chests could all be gold, or it could just be 1 gold and 3 silvers. Either way, you're better off. Backup. K Street, that's rude. I've read worse on the internet. It doesn't mean it's okay. And that doesn't mean we have to accept it here. Right? So, moving on. Once again, Drain VS, all 3 of these champs feel like variant fodder? Well, I mean, there's 88 champions now in the game. You can only take 10 into any given mission. The whole kind of point of having a wide bench is to be able to do variants. And to have functional champions for variants. Yeah, these are functional champions for variants. It's not like every champion they can introduce is now the new meta. Right? Am I underestimating someone, or will they hide behind other portraits most of the game? Yeah. Once upon a time when there was only the core 12 champions, then that were just very generic, because once upon a time Ashara was just generic. She wasn't OP. Event champions were like, oh yay, now we've got somebody better to swap in and out, right? But now the whole idea is they make champions that hopefully function in a niche, right? Like a situation where you are limited in champions, and these are the ones that actually will work better together, and it's not a normal group that you're used to running. The more you do patron variants, which is the kind of mid and end game of this game, mid and end game content, the more you will find that you are using all kinds of different champions that you might not normally use, and these may end up in that situation be the ones you need. And sometimes you flat out don't get enough champions, period. I would have taken any one of these champions on Sunday. Or no, it's not Sunday. Thursday, when I was doing a Sarax puzzle for Strahd. I had 5 champions that I could use. Only 5. I would have taken any one of these just to give me another champion to field to try to finish that boss. Right? So, yeah, sometimes you just need warm bodies on the field. And these are all useful. Including Puent. Man. Lots of negativity today. What's going on? It's October. Let's get spoopy. Merc McNasty, which Highharvestide free play would be best for gold farming using an Azaka farm? Probably Puent's. I would kind of prefer the double, but if you really only want to sacrifice like a single tank, then you would go Torgar's. If you're not going to use some shenanigans to freeze the enemy away or something like that, it might be Torgar's because he has the single tank one that's for pushing best. I mean, if you're a real, I mean, honestly, if you have the options, I push to like 1,050 in Tahani's. So, I mean, you can do anything, but as a newer player, Puent's is friendlier. Doorbell Streams, you can use Puent's Stinky Spec to slow down and empower damage dealers, or have Puent be the DPS since he's immune. Oh, for the poison one. Well, I mean, to make Puent the DPS, you need lots of favor, right? You'd have to have so much favor that, I mean, you may as well just use the upgrade thing, right? The upgrade, X1 upgrade trick to heal things. So yeah, I mean, you can make supports DPS, but you have to overpower them with extra favor. Except for a couple, like, for whatever reason, Paulton is a super secret DPS, even though he doesn't get his own buff. And then Hitch is, the all-time super secret DPS. I'll come back to that. So is repeating free plays in an event the only way to amass favor? Yes. I keep redoing them, and the difficulty on the second and third variants aren't changing. I'm pretty new. Well, you need to get to certain thresholds, file under metal. To make all three show up as green, you have to get to EO8 favor. So if you're not using such scientific notation, you might want to turn that on to understand thresholds. I think it's like EO2 or 4, and then EO6, and then EO8, something like that. I have that breakdown in my guide, Gaarawarr's Guide to Highharvestide Year 5 on the subreddit. So yeah, if you're not hitting one of those breakpoints, then it's not going to show any change. EO8 is what? 3, 6, 2, 100 million? Chat will correct me if I'm wrong. I can't do math on stream. Are harvest baskets important for anything else besides buying access to variants? No, that's variants. Well, variants, and then you buy free plays. And free plays get you gear. So if you were here yesterday for Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything in Idle Champions, GG2E, the Friday show, I opened over 60 Tahani chests. How did I get 60 Tahani chests that fast? I opened tons of bounty contracts, got tons of event tokens, and then automated through level 50 on a event runs, free plays, over and over and over for Tahani, so that I could gear her out. This is kind of what you do as an in-game player. Once you can get tons and tons of gems, and you buy lots and lots of chests, and then they give you lots and lots of bounty contracts, and then you use those bounty contracts to get lots and lots of chests for the champion. So yeah, that's kind of the point. The point of the tokens is to kind of limit your progress and say, hey, you can do this much now. Where do you want to spend it? They're creating they're causing you to make a choice. Willy Wonka Kenobi, still love that name. Do the bullywugs count toward Tahani's paint? Yeah, they're an enemy. So they're an enemy that can be painted. They just don't count towards the goals for the adventure. Honda Hero, how do you do points achievement, Dwarven Splat? We kind of went over that, but the TLDR is pull out your DPS champion, build up 25 enemies on the screen, use points and then put the DPS champion back in and hope they one-shot everything. Well, not hope, but you need to be on a level that they one-shot everything. I have a note for that in my guide. That also does this one. I got multiple questions about the achievement. Any ideas on Tahani's achievement? Just use her. Yeah, just put her in and use her as a DPS, or throw her in the back and as a support, but she's not really supporting. But yeah, just use her as a DPS. It's not that far. It doesn't take that long to get there. Severna, does Points, can you smell that feature have synergy with Benuin's attack speed features? Yes. Yes, they work, like I said earlier, they work very well together. If that's the kind of the thing you're trying to go for. Is Puent useful for trials of Mount Tiamat to increase max DPS? Only if Puent is your best viable option. I mean, whenever you're trying to build DPS for trials, you're building that around of just what's the best formation I can build. Could that potentially include Puent? Maybe. Depends on what your restrictions are. Does it matter which area you are when you use a bounty contract when it comes to event tokens? No. You'll always get, it's a time-based churn for event tokens, so it's a fixed number for each type of contract. The area only matters if you care about the gold that comes off of it. If you take Tahani on blue spec, is it possible to reduce her attack cooldown enough that you can perma-stun a boss? I mean, you'd have to get her attack cooldown to, what, 2 seconds? And the boss would have to be the only thing on screen? I think in Sword Coast you get 5. You get a half a second. So that would bring it down to 4. So then somehow you'd have to get 2 more seconds off. That's a lot to ask. Is it possible? Maybe, but why would you want to? I guess is the question. You want to kill the boss, not just stun it forever. So theoretically, maybe, but I'd rather just kill the boss. Why are there 2 175 and 2 125 achievements for this event? Because there were 5 champions related to this event. The level goal achievements, they have made the decision that that's the highest level goal achievement they're going to give is that 275. So that means they have to go back and duplicate. So in year 4 they added a second 175. Now it's year 5, so now there's another second 225. Each of these are technically associated with a champion, but they're not linked to them. It's not that you have to do it with that champion. So next year in year 6 there will be a third 275 or second 275, right? And then after that there will be a third 175. Yeah. Because they didn't want to just keep raising the bar and then have there be achievements that only veterans, or only people who've been playing for a long time can get. They wanted to try to make it possible for a new player to get everything. It's difficult, but it's possible. Let me in, please. It's me. It's not enough information. Could Tahani be a better choice than Bruenor for Split the Party? I don't think so, personally. But that's just me. I've done Split the Party a lot now. Tahani contributes gold. You would want to go... Like, gold is a big thing for Split the Party, and that would be really the only reason I'd be bringing her in. And I don't see the need to, because if you just run Bruenor and Jarlaxle, you've got gold for days. And then regardless of who you lose at the first split, Bruenor or Jarlaxle, it's going to be Jarlaxle, because there's a conspiracy that Bruenor lives. As long as you use Bruenor, he lives through the whole thing. You heard it here first. If you were to lose Bruenor, you'd get lots of gold from Jarlaxle for another set, but your DPS, you would want your DPS to be Ashara against the tree boss. You need those multi-attacks, or you're going to get wrecked. So, yeah, I mean, you can try it if you want, but that's kind of hard mode. Just looking at Tahani right now, would you go for an Ashara Potpourri boost formation or a high deck Shandy boost formation to get the most out of her? I would go for a Krull. I would use Krull. I mean, look, the go-to is if you're not using Ashara for DPS, you're using Krull as a support, in my opinion. Because not only are you getting the gold and the pain debuff, like for damage, you're getting an AoE that isn't based off her middle spec. So you could potentially, if you wanted, use that right spec for that boss killer mode and then rely on Krull for the AoE. It's just I would rather still go with probably the AoE, the middle spec for her, the green. I just like the green better. It's very hard for it with a single target DPS to make sure you're hitting the thing that has all the Krull stacks on it when there's a big group of things. Grand Shogun. Who are the best champions to push through events and just everything? Whatever the best champions you have are. That's the thing about this game, is it's very subjective. Are there meta choices for things? Sure. Are they always available? No. No. One of the most useful things you can do in this game when you start is learn how to build a formation, which requires you to understand how each of your champions works. So knowing how each of your champions works means when you're in a situation, when you're placed in a situation that is unfamiliar and has weird restrictions, you can still build a viable formation. And whatever the best champions are for you in any given situation, it depends on what restrictions you're under. Whether that's what champions you own, what gear they have, what variant you're doing. So there isn't just there's no one answer to that type of question. So in this event, you know, when I was explaining the restrictions on the variants earlier, there are times when you're restricted by dexterity scores or constitution scores. So I couldn't even give you just a best answer for this event, and because of that, but also because each formation layout is different, and that's going to change potentially what champions you're using. Do Stokey and Ashara attack additional target? Work with Benuin. I'm only addressing this right now because Stokey technically is a Highharvestide champion, even though she's not available right now. I think Benuin's stuff is based off they go to attack, not how many times they hit. Because it's not that they get additional attacks. It's when they take the attack action, they're hitting multiple targets, and they're bouncing from target to target. Ashara actually sends out separate things, so I don't think so, but you can test that on your own and get back to me. What's a good supporting cast for the Dark Order arrives? Is that was the one where you have to use Torgar and Archon? Again, it's whatever your best buffers are. Ideally, if you're building around Archon in that situation, you want people who have strong positional formation abilities. If you're building around Torgar, you can have whatever. Again, it depends on your bench and who you have available. Did I hear something about Puent or another champ being retired? Well, look, in every event, whoever the oldest champion is, this is going to be their last appearance in the event, and that's Puent. Puent is the year 3 champion, so this is the last time he shows up in an event. Does that mean you go all in on Puent and just get Puent chests? Heck no. I don't subscribe to that in any situation, frankly. My rule is if they're roughly equal champions, that you gear them all up equally. If they're not equal champions, you gear them all up equally. If you happen to be in an event where there is a current flavor of the month meta champion who's huge, there's one coming up in an event shortly. You still want to try to gear things up equally, but if you want to focus a specific one, then you would focus, the meta champion that you're going to be using a lot. But generally speaking, having equal gear on champions means you can use them when you're put into a situation where you have to use them. And then they don't underperform, right? And that's my follow-up. That was my answer to the follow-up question that was right below this one, which was, which champion would you advise people farm chests for in this event? Yeah, all of them, equally. Does Archon's Usurp or Bulk Up work on Puent's smell? Can you smell that? Slowing him more than other champions? Yes. Yes, it does. And I've got a guide for that. Check the Archon guide, and it shows you what abilities Archon can usurp. And you pretty much always want to use Usurp. It's probably a very rare situation that you would ever use Bulk Up. Who's best to chest farm, Tahani or Torrigar? Is it just whomever? I think you just gear them all up equally. Unless you just really love one of them and want to go all in, and then that's your choice, right? Kinde, is there a cap to the number of event tokens you can collect at one time? Not that I've seen. Not that I've seen. That was in there twice. If I remember correctly, you said that free plays cost 250 event tokens. No. They start at 500, and they max out at 2,500. So there's a 0 missing there. They go up 500 every time you do them, and they cap at 2,500. Is there any reason to get the champion achievements during the event? Ironstone, you want to get the numbered ones. The ones that are like, reach this goal. That's the big ones, because you can't get those outside of an event. Everything else you can get at any time or out of a time gate. Like the variant ones, if you didn't do those in this event, you could get them out of a time gate later. But all the others can be done anyway. All right, going back. General questions for the last half hour. Thoughts on Ellie Wick and her place in slot 10? I mean, she's a champion in slot 10. Ellie Wick is really embodies the concept and idea behind the deck of many things, which is you randomly get something wonderful or something horrible. So, you know, when you put Ellie Wick in, just know it could go bad real fast. Not real fast. I mean, you've got to get through hundreds of levels with her, but yeah, it could end up not being your best option. But you know, that is you're playing that RNG game to see what happens. As far as being in slot 10, she's in slot 10. In generally speaking, I don't complain about where champions end up in slots. Generally speaking. My only complaint has been lore-based in that Benuin is in a slot with Omen, and I can't run an old-school Ack-Ink formation. And I'm bummed. Outside of that, they're going to go where they're going to go. That's part of the puzzle aspect of this game that I enjoy, is that you have to make a choice, right? You can't just choose the most powerful champions. You have to choose the most powerful options based off these restrictions, right? That's what makes this a puzzle game. Vorshin, am I right in thinking that the patron perks work thusly? Local equals all patrons only for items under that tab, and global is patrons, quests, and everything. The wording on this is confusing. So let me just hop over here. Is everybody else getting this? Live. Forget your Gaarawarr's Guide chess code. Oh, hold on. This deserves a screenshot. That's fantastic. Okay. I'm sure it says don't forget. It's just that... Woo. All right. So, perks. This is what we're talking about. Patron perks. Local means while you have that specific patron activated, whatever you're doing with that patron, which is usually variants, but it could be a free play if you want it to be. Local means while doing Mert stuff. Global means while doing Mert stuff or anything else. Even other patron stuff. So global means everywhere. It applies everywhere. Local means only while doing Mert stuff. So early on, when you don't have a lot of influence, and you maybe you go all in on local stuff because it's the bigger stuff while you're doing Mert stuff, but then you reset because there's no cost to reset with patron perks. And then you go to do Vajra stuff, you reset, and then you put more into global so that you have a bonus for Vajra. And then when you come back to do Mert stuff later, you reset and you put it back into local. Right? Eventually you just leave it, but yeah. They have said at some point they want to, like when they first released perks, there wasn't enough influence in the game to get all of them. So you had to choose or swap and go back and forth. They've said they've thought about adding more perks and making sure that there's so many tiers that you have to choose again and you can't get them all again. But that only lasts for so long. Wrecked one. What does your shirt say? Today's shirt. Black Heroes Matter. Rakadaka, is there a resource for calculating Briv jumps in automated gem farm without scripting? Somebody did some stuff with that. It wasn't me. Ask in the Discord. I don't know. It's not something that I've looked for yet, really. Tara, to one Archon, what areas have Fey enemies for Patron challenges? I do everything for Patron challenges in Mad Wizard, except for Undead. It has everything except Undead. Mods, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So Mad Wizard, running Mad Wizard has all of the different types except for Undead, and then you go to Tomb of Nine Gods for Undead. Yeah. Running through, you may end up to, where you just farming Mad Wizard, like running through it over and over again. You may reach your goal on your way to just getting your free play goals, or you may just have to stop and farm on a level. But yeah, you can get most of it in Mad Wizard. Oh, this one didn't get marked. I did that one already. Set Manji. I took everyone's advice from yesterday and put the bratwurst in the nachos. It was good. Yeah. See? We're not going to lead you wrong. All right. So technically, you should never forge a legendary at 1,000, right? Never wait for it to go under 1,100. Well, I mean, so the way the math works, this is a question about the legendary forge system that's new to Idle Champions. The people that do the maths in the community have stated that you want to wait until it drops under 1,111 to then forge a new legendary item. Yeah, you don't necessarily want to wait. I mean, you can wait till 1,000. It's not like... It's slowing you down. Basically, there's probably 2 days. There's 1 to 2 days that you're losing in your rotation. So it just depends on, if you're trying to be super efficient and get them as fast as possible, then the moment it drops below 1111, you forge a new one. If you wait another day, like say it was 1105, well... your next one's going to drop you down. The next one is going to drop you down to 1,000. But you could have just done it at 1105 and you wasted a day, right? So they're just basically trying to make it so that you don't waste days. Because it's going to take a very long time. A very, very long time to legendary forge every one when it's once every... Like if you wait the full 7 days... there's 88 champions and 6 items per champion. So that's, that's over a year and a half. Right? Let's say it's 90 times 6. That's 540. Oh, no. We're tech once a week. I was thinking days. I was thinking days. 540 weeks. So over a decade in the current system. Takes over a decade. So the current system is very much, look, you make your choice. You choose where you want those legendaries to go because you can't put them everywhere. Hopefully that changes because I think people would rather be able to achieve full legendary and they're, but who knows? We're still in the early days of the legendary forge system. There are 6 items added every 3 weeks, so you can never catch up. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah. So hopefully the system changes because ultimately, yeah, that's the reality. People are like, oh, it'd take you a decade. Well, no, you would never. It would always take longer. You would never reach the end. So don't go into it right now with the idea that you're going to legendary every item. Go make a plan. Lindriel, what are the conditions to be able to do Trials of Mount Tiamat? Gosh, it's like you guys set these up for me and I can just knock them right down. You need to have completed the adventure, the basic adventure called El Terrell's Last Stand in Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus campaign. It is the very last adventure. So I think it's the 20th adventure. It's just that it just means you have to complete the main storyline. All that you really need for that is a good chunk of favor. I think I was around E28. I think I just did it on my newer account, my EGS account. I was around E28. Made it happen. But it's not something you rush through. I went through each campaign in order. I did a bit of Sword Coast to unlock Dritz and get the second Global Blessing, and then I bounced to Tomb of Annihilation. I unlocked Azaka and Dragonbait, and then I went to Waterdeep, and I unlocked Ikoria, and then I went to Baldur's Gate. Right, do them in order because you're gonna need the power that you're building up over that time period. Darius Mater, doesn't matter if I do the trials in the swamp, the volcano, or one of the other areas. I mean, each one has its own kind of situation going on. Ultimately, you want to do each one once because there's an achievement and there's skins for doing each one. But outside that, I don't know that it differs. Don't know that it differs too much. And I'm just realizing that I forgot to get all of the level area off the last one I did, Bad Gaarawarr. I'm also realizing that, hey, it's Saturday, which means I'm only a couple hours out from doing my my trials again. CatGov. How can a barbarian be lawful? Aren't they chaotic by their nature? No? Yeah. Nature is... yeah, that's a weird question. No. Think of it like... I mean, this is... Barbarians aren't... You're not born a barbarian. So you're not... There's no nature involved. It's training. It's training. So you can be raised to into that barbarian lifestyle, but follow a set of laws and be lawful. Maybe older editions of the game may have been well we know for a fact older editions of Dungeons and Dragons were very restrictive. They're also very racist and stereotypical, and newer editions are moving away from that, rightfully so. And nowadays you can do all kinds of things. I mean, paladins don't even have to be like you can break your paladin oath and become an oath breaker paladin. Like that's there's the game now reflects the true nature of what our world is, which is that there's all kinds of people doing all kinds of things. If I buy a pack in the store and there's a feat in it that I already purchased with gems, do I get my gems back? Yes. Darius the Mayor, who are the other rivals of Waterdeep except the 3 we have? There have been a number. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you. Hold on, I can go look it up though. If I remember correctly, it's changed over. They've had so many seasons now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 currently, but there's like 4 from that were past cast members. Yeah. So the current ones that we already have in the game. We have Shaka, Tahani, and Celise. And we still need... Why is it not giving me the names of the others? It's not giving me the names of the others. Sorry, folks. Bad page. Bad page. All right, there's 3 more. At least 3 more. If they're just doing current cast. From my understanding. For Tahani, is it ever good to take her yellow paint gold buff, or is blue paint the only viable buff? You made some hard decisions with that, thinking that blue is the only viable buff. I think you use whatever you want to use for the situation. Like I said, if for whatever reason I was starting off a campaign or something and and Tahani was my best option for gold find, I would use, and DPS, I would use the gold buff so that I build up gold and favor quickly. But because Tahani is a single target DPS, I find the middle spec to be the viable one, even though it cuts the damage in half, because at least half damage is better than only hit to a group is better than only hitting one enemy for full damage when it comes to trying to get through an area and wave clear. And I think the blue one is really just a boss killer spec. It's really just you're getting extra damage for the boss. But it's still single target, which is rough. Single target champions are rough in this game. Doesn't mean they're not usable. It just means that they've got a harder time than others. Because they basically, I don't know what it is. Like I mean, they even sometimes don't even have extra damage to compensate, it doesn't feel like. Like you'd think if you were only hitting one thing, you would want those champions to do a lot more damage than somebody that can hit everything, but the game doesn't necessarily work that way. Disturb Damien, if I have a fully gilded champ and buy a wild offer pack with a shiny in it, does it convert to a potion of polish? No. Because if it says it's a shiny card, it's going to give you a duplicate shiny, which is 125 levels to wherever it lands. The only way buying a pack from the store gets you a potion of polish is if it comes with a potion of polish. I know that's redundant. Or if you are buying a golden epic from the store and it's for a slot that is already shiny, that will refund you a potion of polish. Is there an ETA for getting more than 3 gold chests and time gates? No, and I don't know that it's ever going to happen. I don't know that they've ever committed to that. Smonster. Just got my 3rd party slot. Nice. I'm thinking of doing 1 party for story, 1 party for variants, and then the last for events. Is this a good idea or is there a better strategy? I mean, you do you. When I run background parties, I'm just gem farming, and I literally, hold on. Gem farm active, gem farm background, another gem farm background. Can you tell what I do with my parties, folks? I tend to focus on whatever I'm actively doing with my active formation. The reason is and then the others are just gem farming, because I can throw anybody in a background formation and let them gem farm for 30 or 50 levels and let it reset. But if I'm trying to build out multiple pushing parties, multiple viable pushing parties, that's challenging. And you'll end up having to go in and manually change things and try to get to the finish. Like, if you're knocking out some easy variants that you know you can absolutely destroy with your extra champions, yeah, sure. But otherwise, I don't know. It's rough. In the current state of the game, it's challenging to, if you've just unlocked them, you don't necessarily have a huge bench of viable champions. You were just aiming to fill it with as best as you could at the time to unlock those. Tauken, any chance you can explain to me why people say for new champions to use your Electrums than silver than gold? Yeah, I did this on stream yesterday. Electrums will give you gear for any champion you own, but they will favor champions that don't have any gear currently in any of their slots. And when they go to roll, even once they do have gear, once they go to roll, they will favor their upgrades. Like if they get an upgrade, it can slightly favor champions that only have low gear, instead of giving you duplicates. So there is a way that Electrums will, it helps Electrums focus in, once you've first gotten a champion, onto filling that champion up with gear. It's not guaranteed, despite what CNE says. Actual usage in game shows that it's not guaranteed, but there's a solid chance. Yesterday I got full blues, up to full blues with my Electrum chests that I'd saved up since the last event on Tahani. Then you open silvers to, maybe you didn't get to full blues. You want to give yourself a chance to get all of that. You're now focusing only with your silvers and your golds for that champion, only on that champion. So you get a nice number of duplicate item levels that way. And it will attempt to then fill out any things that you didn't get up to green technically up to blue, but green definitely should be with silvers. And then the golds can come in and fill in the rest of the blues that you don't have, and then hopefully give you some epics. So it just works out well. Because here's the thing, if you were to flip it around, if you were to do golds first, you'd potentially, you would blue out. 6 golds should, unless you have horrible luck, should blue out, or even throw in a purple, your new champion. At that point, sure, the silvers are going to give you duplicates, item levels, they'll be focused. The silvers are fine. But the electrums now have no weight whatsoever towards your new champion. And they're just going to go randomly amongst all the champions you own. So by putting the electrums first, you're allowing yourself to at least get potentially some gear out of those free electrums, instead of all the paid the paid ones you paid with your event tokens to earn those name chests, right? So yeah, it just works out a little better, statistically speaking. Is Avernus slot 3 a good place for my... Is Avern's slot 3 a good place for my first legendary? I don't know. The item itself doesn't matter. The item itself doesn't matter at all. If you click on a champion and you look at the bonuses that they can get, click on one of their items. I mean, I can do this on screen right now. Hold on. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If I click on Mini Notched Axe, I see this set of 6 effects. All champs by 100 down to neutral champs by 150. Now I'm going to go on the ultimate. Oh, look. It's the same 6. The slot doesn't matter. This champion, Brunor, has these 6 potential effects. So the slot doesn't matter at all. So what you really want to know is Avren a good place to target your first legendary? And that just depends on what you're trying to do. Look at the effects that he has offered up and know that you're just going to get one at random. So are the odds in your favor that you're going to get a good beneficial bonus from Avren? That's what you want to determine. If only one of those is useful to you, one of Avren's buffs is useful, then it's not really a good idea. At this point in the current functionality of the Legendary Forge, if 4 or more of them are in your favor somewhat, you've got there are good odds there because you're getting one at random. You don't get to choose. So that's how you kind of have to figure it out. Grand Shogun, what is the best champion to go for in time gates for pushing and just overall good champions? Again, with these really trying to just get sure, there are some meta champions, but here's the thing. If you're a brand new player, your first goal is to combine picking up good champions while also getting 2 champions in every slot so that you can unlock the adventure, split the party, and get your second party and your Modron core. That is going to be more beneficial to you overall. The question, so what I'm trying to express here is that you need to ask more pointed questions. These are very generalized questions, and they're not super helpful because we need to know things like, well, which slots do you not have 2 champions in yet? That's how you figure it out, right? Like if you're trying to get 2 champions per slot and you're missing a second option in slot 4 and slot 7. Well, then I can go to slot 4 and I can go, well, you're given Jarlaxle automatically, and Baloth is the Bay in slot 4, so you'd want to pick him up next, right? And then we'd bounce down to slot 7 and I'd go, well, you get Minsk automatically, but Freely is best in slot, so make sure, that would be where you'd target. I can give you that kind of answer. But there's a lot of meta champions, potentially meta champions, and I don't want to encourage you to pick up that meta champion if you're early in the game and you already have 2 in their slot. Because it's much better for you to get to the point where to grab a different one that's going to get you to split the party. And then after split the party 1, there's split the party 2, which is 3 in each slot, right? Quick follow-up from chat. Who's the easiest to replace slot 12? Azaka, because you get her for free by playing the game. You just go through Tomb of Annihilation. She's an evergreen champion. You unlock her there. I'm not going to get through all of these questions today, folks. I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, I just answered this question. Which champion should I get to replace Jarlaxle? Baloth? Yeah. Big Jake, does Trials Favor convert like events or like time gates? Time gates. 2.5% per order of magnitude. I had a party automated farming one of the event free plays, and when I switched to it, it showed that I'd earned 4 chests, but when I got to bag chests, they don't show up. This is a bug, or is this some trick to make them show up? I don't. Sounds like a bug to me. Restart your client and see what happens. Otherwise, submit a support ticket. Must Duval, would I choose any champion you want, but get 2 penalties for each one? I don't know what this question is. Would choose any champion you want, but get 2 penalties for each one chosen be viable in the game? I don't understand what that means. Yeah, I'm not sure what that has. I don't know. I'm like, we can talk if you want to talk like the game design theory. That's like you can have those discussions on the Discord or on Reddit. My opinion doesn't matter. I don't design the game. I already have all blues on the 3 champions. Who should I focus on this event? Again, just pick whoever you think you're going to use the most, or try to gear them up equally. Should you focus on global or local patron perks in general? When you're first doing patron stuff and trying to get more influence, and you're doing that, you want to focus on local stuff so that because those are the bigger buffs. But when you're doing general stuff or a different patrons things, you reset and then you focus down the global part. Am I missing something in high level favor farming? Feels like once I reach soft cap, it's just a wall. Sit there for an hour, rinse and repeat. You're relying too much on favor. You need to start looking at the other pillars of progression, which are things like gear, blessings, perks, your Modron core. Right? There's all these other things that give you power in the game, and you need to go get power from those. At what point should I actually first attempt to patron? As soon as you qualify to unlock Mert. Right away. When in game progression should I start farming gems for my 3rd Modron core? Maybe never. Maybe never. I'm not being hyperbolic. Maybe never. It's going to depend on what you're looking for. Like, do you just want a 3rd automated party? Because that 3rd automated background party is never going to get you those gems back. So if you just want automation for a 3rd party and you don't care that you're dumping 500,000 gems in it, go for it. The only other reason would be if you like to main melee DPS champions. There is a slight bonus for damage on the strong core for those. Last question, is resetting important? If so, when is it necessary to reset? Resetting is important. That's how this game works. You push to your wall, which is basically the point where you get to where your champions are dying and can't complete the goal requirements of that level. And no amount of gold seems to, and if you're there for 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, the amount of gold doesn't push you any further. It's time to reset. Time to reset, because that's going to give you that gold that you earn turns into favor. That favor on the next run is a multiplier on your gold find for the new run, and thus you can push further. So you never want to farm more than, let's say, an hour. Like, you never want to like sit for more than an hour at basically a wall where you're just not going any further. Like, maybe you went 1 or 2 levels, but you just can't seem to go further, or you can't beat a boss. Yeah. No, then you reset. All right, folks, if I didn't answer your question, I tried. I got through 60. That's a minute, actually less than 1 a minute, or more than 1 a minute, because it was less than an hour, because I talked a lot the first hour and a little over an hour. If you have more questions, take them to the Discord, the new player channel, or the tavern, or whatever channel is appropriate. There's a Trials of Mount Tiamat channel now as well, or the Reddit. The community is very open to answering and helping with the questions. On our way out, we are going to listen to the throwback. We're going to go to throwback. Our Year 1 champion, Stokey, has her own Bardic Inspiration song. This is the Key of Rock, folks. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will see you next week. Maybe? Streamlabs, are you going to let me? Now it's going to let me leave.
I'm headed down the road to find the key arrive. You know this is my path, there ain't no way to stop. This is what I'm training for. The key to open every door. And if you block my way, I'm gonna make you stop. I'm not one for talk, but you can meet my fists. I throw a kick or two if you don't get the gist. Or I'll use my golden palm. And if that don't make you calm, you know my key explosions, well, they never miss. Whoa, empty out your mind. Where the key rock resides, no one will be left behind. When the key flows, it's gonna be our time to rock. But traveling the world from Waterdeep to fame, Underdark come near and I and Gaarawarr. Teaching the even-handed way, making evil doers pay, keeping their own secret of a single day. Whoa, empty out your mind. Where the key rock resides, no one will be left behind. When the key flows, it's gonna be our time to rock. I can feel the spirit of keep building up in me. Even with my blindfold on, that spirit helps me see. Following my senses to embrace my destiny. The key of rock is unlocked, loaded to be free. Whoa, empty out your mind. Where the key rock resides, no one will be left behind. When the key flows, it's gonna be our time to rock. Yeah.